I it I think we're going. I think we're live. Yeah, I might have you help me move it from one place to the next if we go.
Sure.
If we go out front.
Shall I grab some gloves? Do you need to do anything else?
I'll go over everything real quick. Let's go. Yeah. Well, I'll come up here to address the screen as I've become accustomed to doing, and you guys as well. Thank you guys so much for coming out. So this is some of what we've been tinkering with to make things up to code and up to snuff with regards to the floor planning. Yeah, well, I don't even really know where to begin. I want to thank you guys for coming out. First and foremost, we're gonna need volunteers, and so it's really helpful to have people willing to come. I know we haven't been in the media, at least haven't been focusing too much on coronavirus and all of the specifics. And by God's grace, hopefully this will be more temporary. Well, it won't be our permanent now. Just for a time, right? So, but this is we always have to make sure that we're keeping everyone's health in mind. So, by you guys coming out, this is really kind of communicating love for your brother, an intent to serve the church, an intent to make things as safe as possible for everyone. And that's a labor of love, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Okay, so to get started, in our all team training meeting, our volunteer orientation meeting, it's sounding rather corporate, so I ask your forgiveness. In an attempt to be just more organized with how we're doing things, in the case that we were pressured to be more structured on these things than we have been in the past, just kind of making more of an effort to be a little bit more administrative. So, hence the teams, hence the Usher teams, the Acolyte teams, the sanitation teams. And if you've read the documents, which there are a lot of, you'll see that California is asking us to do some of these things, to have kind of a protocol of our own in-house ownership of safety of others. So we've gone through all this before. Let's dive into the specifics of what is going to be on the plate for us as ushers. Well, as I outlined in a very short and brief email I sent out a few days ago. The ushers are going to, per service, there'll be 2 people per team, per usher. And God willing, we'll have an usher who will help with the process of the questionnaire and like the door, which primarily my hope is just as we the ushers in general will be able to help via their disposition of hospitality and joy and just natural outpouring love that's coming from the Holy Spirit and from God. They'll be able to diffuse maybe the question apprehensions that some of our people might be coming to church with. And primarily, ushers are here. We've been wanting to make a more official usher role in the church for a little while now. I've heard it mentioned. So let's look. My hope is that we look at the ushers as primarily a Christian function, and secondarily like a protocol observer. We're all protocol observers. And we're all first and foremost Christians, though. So when we come to congregate, I think my hope and my prayer is that we are able to show that love, that in a genuine way, and with a greeting of some sort, or with that's natural to
you shut up.
Anything other than that.
A triple kiss.
We just all double kiss.
Well, not now, but hopefully in God's time, right? We are all able to be more and more these things cool. But we can still be very much of a loving presence without having to maul with that love. Yeah. So, and I know everyone, and I'm very confident that every one of you is capable of that. I'm very grateful that you are all here willing to show that for other people. Like this is a pastoral ministry. Is essentially what I'm trying to paint a picture of. This is the first face that you see when you come back to church for the first time. Right? So hopefully it's not too hazmated or just weird and abusive. It's just we have a calm disposition throughout. That's my prayer. Okay, you guys are all like, we came here for the specifics. We don't really like it. Okay, well, we do have some specifics. I don't have paperwork with me right now. I ask for forgiveness when it comes to checklists and questionnaires and such that we've been referencing throughout. But I wanted to start a process with what most people would encounter when they come to church. My hopes is that we have some type of table, and I've actually set up a table in the fellowship hall. It's not going to be in the fellowship hall. It will be a table that can be brought out of the fellowship hall and brought back. And I've wrapped it with a thick tablecloth, a disposable tablecloth. It's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but it's which if we need to, we can work on its beauty because we are in the church of beauty. I don't know where that ranks, but hopefully it's ranked somewhere high in our life, the beauty of and wonders of church. Anyways, I'm rambling. Let's go and let's move towards that direction. Let's move towards first the entrance to the church. I'll bring the table out, and we're not going to have. There's just going to be a few simple questions for people if they haven't already checked on them. And by God's grace, we don't really want to. I just want to highlight the fact that we have two things that we really need to try and prayerfully balance it, I think, in our own lives throughout our. I think this is going to be something that will be a good testing ground for just life post-coronavirus in general. Not to add to like election year, but two things I really hope that we will strive to balance in our lives, regardless of how we're actually. The respect for, I guess, other people's dispositions regarding for coronavirus and their health in general, and their overall concern for the health. We know that it's evident, it's become more and more evident, regardless of where we stand on things politically or whatever it is. But we have different personality types. types. We have some that are more extroverted and what that really gain a lot of their energy from the energy of other people, whether it be close proximity or large proximity, right? And God made even the apostles like this. We're moving to the season of the apostles. St. Peter, right? He's one who's like, I'll chop off your ear. If you try and touch my Lord, right? He's very tactile. And then you have a few of the other ones that are, they're observers. They stand in the background. I'm just thinking of the difference between St. John and St. Peter, right? St. John is just much more observer, taking in the big picture, standing and watching not from far, the presence still there. But just different, and the church needs both.
He lived much longer.
But he wasn't blessed with the death of martyrdom. If it's about if you want to.
That's true. That's true.
So this is our life in Christ, right? This is our life in Christ. We are balancing both of these realities within our own community throughout the whole rest of time. So, where am I going with all of this? My hope is that we can. That's why see, a priest is going to be the perfect example of someone who doesn't know, who fails on probably everything. So I ask your forgiveness. But we're all visible, we're all exposed in this whole process. So this is good to have your hands. So trained. Alrighty. Okay. Lighthearted. Like this is good. Cracking jokes. These are good things, I think, for everyone to be a little bit more diffused and less afraid. Fear. We want to not combat fear, but we want to slowly diffuse fear, right? In other dispositions. So this training. This training wasn't initially supposed to be about disposition and such, but more so about what's going to be asked of us. And there's not a huge list, so it's not going to take long for us to get through what we do. But let's get moving in that direction, and then we can come back here if you have any questions about it. First off, before we leave here. When we have Holy Communion, which God willing to answer Missy's question, which goes, will you be taking Holy Communion away now that we've introduced it? No. We don't want to be doing more gatekeeping than we need to. That was the other thing that we would need to balance: the disposition of love and respect for our brother and sister in Christ, and just being diligent, right? And not necessarily putting gates up or walls up for other people, because we're already feeling a little case in as people. I think as not just individuals, but as a society, right? That's evident throughout the media, throughout everything that's occurring in our life. So, my main prayer is that the table in front of the door of the church, right? This place that's so sacred that everyone has been longing to be in for so long, that we're not putting a hindrance on it in these as ushers. We're simply reminding and doing our due diligence for the sake of the church, really, and for the sake of everyone's health. So, first and foremost, forgive me if I'm touching my face again, but I'm not in my eyes. Okay, so back to communion and back to this space before we leave. Forgive me. You'll see marked off 9, 6, and 6 square. 6 by 6 are technically speaking, the logic is that the most they could very comfortably socially distance within 1 square would be 3. And I think that's a little bit, probably pretty generous when it comes to people on 6 foot square. As long as everyone stays, if the church is packed, everyone's staying kind of towards the center of the square, right? That will provide a willing 6 foot distance. You have a little bit more with the aisle, right? If you're a border, you have multiple borders, you have more. So the squares, we're going to the squares too when we get the off So logically, I'm just trying to be a logical person, but if it's possible. The 6 by 6 foot squares is like to fit 3 people. 3 adults are probably perfect. And then the 7 by 7, 7 by 7 being more at cost. 5 people. I'll probably deal with 4 adults and a child or at most. 5 adults would probably be a lot for 7 by 7. So we have, if we want to add up our max capacity just based on squares, we have 6 times 5, 30 on one side. And then we have 3 times 6, 18, so 48. That's just in squares, right? And I don't know, we don't really often get 48 on a regular Sunday. Maybe that's like the most we can get, or that would be like an average time.
I just all think about right.
Yeah.
At the end of the service, and
So technically speaking,
we're not bad.
the squares aren't necessarily notching down like they don't hinder our max capacity necessarily. They can, yes, they do add a cap, right? A quantity cap, just based on what we have room for. So
You're not technically wrong. To the point.
right.
I think it's the 5 people.
The only weird part with it though, if you think about it, lots of people come in sets of 2 or different groups, so then what happens then?
Exactly. That's a great question. Now, that would hinder, I guess, our total capacity because, yes, sheltering in place units, that, I don't know if that's technically considered, like, is that technical language still number, now you have the bubbles?
I don't know if you have bubbles, I don't know what's going on. I just heard about that.
We have bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, bubbles.
Yeah.
Since I live in San Joaquin, I don't know anything about this.
You have bubbles.
No, we just said we have 40 people, we have because,
Well, this is the logic. The logic in play, to answer your question, will be the sheltering in place units per, a sheltering in place unit per square or multiple squares if there's more than one. I don't think going forward we'll be able to really enforce that strictly because even that is being used with the bubbles with the new language. So when these were created, yes, that was the intent, was that we won't be necessarily sharing squares with other units. And I think that would be, to be consistent, it would be good if we could uphold that as Usher. That's what the sheltering in place discussion that we've had, in our law community, all alternatives and such has kind of community. So per square, sheltering in place.
Slightly irrelevant, but if people come in and they say, hey, we decided to do double our parents.
Right.
Are they okay to have those, 2 shelter-in-place units together in one?
they're in the same bubble basically. or
Yeah.
something.
So they tell me to be as an usher, come there and say, okay, this is, I'll ask them, are you socially comfortable with anyone
Yeah,
in the church?
To answer on the fly, my initial impression would be, Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's what's playing in here will also be, just for the respect of everyone else, will be consistency within the definition, right? 3 weeks for, social, what's it called, the bubbles?
Double bubble, I don't know.
A social bubble is a 3 week time frame that your 12-person bubble is not like completely fluid and ambiguous.
Right.
Then it won't mean anything. So just, as long as it's consistent. He's in my bubble now. She's in my bubble now. Or something like that.
You can just ask people when they come to the door, how many are in your group?
Yeah.
And you can define your group however you want to define it. Whether they're your bubble, whether they're your household, but how many are in your group?
That's a perfect, thank you so much, because that's very relevant. That will play into how we work all the time. Yeah. And that will determine how many squares, or how few squares people get to be condensed with that. Well,
So like, anyone related to the Ninos is in one square.
That has the church is in
well, it is a relevant question, I think, because if we do have more than one service, right, then maybe we can strategize some of these things if we talk to people about who's involved, like, and who they're. It's just, sorry, it's kind of interesting to use that for public. But yeah, like we can strategize services even that way in order to add more, let's say, more empty squares for a service that might have
More smaller entities.
more small entities. That can consolidate. If we can strategize that way, like I said, we don't want to be too gatekeeping. We don't want to be too thought through about, you know what I mean? Like if we get too thought through, it's not us just coming to church and worshiping God. It's like it becomes a very
It'd be like Soviet church.
So we.
I think there was one church over there, something.
Well, sometimes it's already been quite cool. I can imagine that, those times we haven't been 6 feet apart from the household, people often visit in their households. And
right.
so if we do have, like you were saying that maybe we fit traffic on here, I'm just thinking, when we have that from church, I don't think we've been 6 feet apart from
Oh, no, we haven't. And technically speaking, according to California state laws, what they've just issued regarding how max capacity for church congregations at this point in time is 25% of our max capacity, or official max capacity, which is something, that's a number that we're trying to, Parish Council is working very hard on trying to determine and lock down. It requires a fire code assessment and such, but we've made a general kind of estimate based on some of the average capacity.
Some of the brilliant expertise in my presence.
We do have some works with fire code meetings and such.
Yeah, and defer, we should get a official's approval. Did she ever respond to you about that?
She has, and we can get, I guess, into that later, but
That's fine.
we haven't kind of actual fire inspection yet. And so we're trying to get everything up to code. We have a few things to get to code, up to code before we want to do that. All that being said, our max capacity currently is somewhere around 16 total people. So that,
the 25%.
Right, right.
yeah, per service.
And you were gonna do some sort of like a reservation type system or whatever, or,
Yeah,
like,
we
where
were-
you're coming.
We were going back and forth on that stuff, wondering what's going to be best. But God willing, we'll have, every bulletin now leading up to the day that we actually open, I'll be asking I'm currently making a list of those people who are wanting to come to church, like so. Just so people mention that they're willing to come to church, then I'll put them on the list, and then we'll get the list, and we'll be reminding people every week, go back to church. Or maybe we'll have a live stream countdown, live stream cuts off in 4 weeks. I'm just being facetious. I don't know. But regardless, we'll have, that's not very nice of me to say that actually, because some people really are required, especially those people like this. Well, allow that opportunity for them to be participate. So, okay, I'm rambling. Any questions about squares? Any questions about social bubble? What determines?
So what was the thing about social bubble? It's, you can choose visits with, or?
You can choose up to 12 people to share germs with.
I can send you a link.
12 besides your own household?
12.
Oh.
So what happens if you have 13 people in your house?
Maybe, somebody has to leave.
Okay.
The bubble has to stay static, though. So let's say if my family, your family wanted to say, okay, you know what, we want to be able to visit back and forth. We could do that, but then you can't also bubble with them.
Okay.
Can't like one bubble. So we have to be a committed bubble.
Right.
There's a bit of my neighborhood who has 13 people, but.
Yeah, I know, I'm sure.
So there are kids.
So Father, did you say we will talk more about squares when we come back in, or any sort of question to ask now?
Well, we can, I'm trying to make this pretty open format because I want to try and diffuse as many questions as I can as I'm capable of at the time. So yeah, you can ask them now, or you can, it's better than yes.
Okay, so I'm just thinking as an usher. Let's say we have 16 people, and obviously our squares can accommodate more than 16. I would like to suggest that maybe we start with like the first group goes there, and then the next group goes here, and then the next group goes here. So that they're not adjacent to each other.
Right. No, that's very. That's very smart. I think that's a great idea. That's kind of why I held off on numbering too, because I think like you said, the staggering of people in squares is might play into the logic of how we number the squares too. If we need to number them. So here's some dialogue that I want to ask you guys' advice on. Do you think it's too parochial or too I don't know, just too formal to number a square and say at the door? I think you guys are a group of 8 people, so take squares, 7 and 8.
I guess I would say that my feeling is if we have ushers, I mean, are they going to be escorted in basically, or are they going to be shown the?
Well, I guess that's essentially what I'm,
That's whether to show them or.
whether you need a second usher to actually bring people to the actual squares, or if we can just simply give people a number and not have to be too hands-on with the placement of people, other than just simply stating, here's a number, or is a number too concrete, and would someone just bring someone up to their square be just welcoming and hands-on, or I don't know. That's something that.
For the first time, I think it might be helpful for someone to actually come just because they're looking for some understanding all these squares.
Yeah, and from the server side of things, having numbers is always helpful, because you can walk up and say, oh, we actually have this square, and you just switch and then go back up there and say what number you're on. I mean, from the server side, it makes sense having numbers, like if you label a table, and say where people are at.
So maybe doing a little mixture of both, is having the numbers down and then bringing people.
Because when you get a show, all day in the auditorium, on seats on number, but you should show your tickets to the usher, they help you find your number. There's not any numbers like that will be here, but still,
Yeah.
it is sort of like, I don't know, I tell people not sure, take the time to do that.
It'd be nice to bring it, instead of just assigning a number at the door, you can bring it in and say, you know, you guys are pay up front, we prefer it in the back.
Yes.
And then that way we can, like, 'cause I know some people are just freaked out, put them up front. And then you get a meeting, like, you need it back, we're going, you know, so.
Yeah, that's why I didn't thank you. This is really helpful, because that's one reason why I didn't really make the call on how exactly to fashion people to squares.
I know the numbers are wrong in the emails, though.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that's what we'll do. That will give the second usher number 2, a little bit more hands-on role than this. In the other case, if we did, I don't know.
Do we need to actually keep track of what places people are in, or no?
No, I don't, that's the thing, I don't want to be too, like I said, it's too gatekeeping. Okay, you were supposed to stay in, we have you down as box number 8.
So you're banned for the next service.
So this is just I don't want to invent it. I came to that, I know that everyone they're all relatives here. Well, and if we make it too structured, then we're kind of adding some fear onto stress. So, and we are, I think, I want to emphasize the fact that we are a family. We are in Christ, the closest that we can be as human beings. So I don't want to be too formalized about it. Just primarily, my hope is the usher role is one of hospitality, and one of love, and kind of embracing that. We can see it's exciting that we're all back together in church again. So I don't think we need to be remain accountable to squares, but that's being said, we can't be too fluid with where people are placed, are remain standing, and that will be that. This is that I think will be on this. Just communicate, but the grid, and we don't want to be too harsh and enforcement. We want to be reminding people throughout this kind of first much time.
Well, how should we direct people for bathroom use? Will the ushers come back?
Okay, now we're getting, this is a good question. We'll get into some more specifics. For now, let's go, I'll lead the way, and then you guys can follow me in your social distance.
Question, with the usher, you want to do, I would think, it would make, look to the spot. And maybe go on the chairs.
Absolutely.
For those who have chairs.
Absolutely, that would be a.
There we go. Right here. It would be another way of expressing hospitality.
Absolutely. Yes, so number 2, that will be, so option number 1 is going to remain seated, and option number 2 will do all of that. We'll right, I'll try and consider the comfortability of people's, for example, let's say a family comes in with a child carrier, or maybe with a child in general, and putting them on the edges, maybe if that's what they want, just asking them, and then asking them if they'd like to seat 2. Those will be 2 very key considerations for number 2. Okay, so I'm going to try and bring this, if we can, if possible, bring the live stream out towards in the narthex, and then if you guys want to just head straight outside, then we'll go outside and we'll do phase 2 of what it's going to look like at the door. hopefully this is visible to you all who are live streaming. Okay. So I don't know if you guys noticed the table in there, but yeah, God willing, we'll have a table set up here, diagonally, kind of like this. Usher number one will be able to sit, and then it's not going to be situated right here, like it will just be tangential, and and we have everyone's we have a directory. So we don't have to like ask that everyone put down their contact information. We don't have that for everyone. Have to get contact information that I know of. It's continually being updated. It's a PDF shareable document that everyone has access to edit. Um, what we will have will be a few questions regarding and I'm just trying to think of dialogue. I'm going to be thinking more and more about like simple dialogue, like introductions into, okay, before you go in, or it is something that's not too, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, don't go in before. Something that's just simple, like, you can have not necessarily scripted, but something that's like a general greeting, like whether it be one of our seasonal greetings, like I don't know if it's Christ is in our midst, like Christ is in our midst, or Jesus Christ. Oh, that's more.
So it's like if they don't get it right, they don't come in.
That's
It's kind of the thing.
Yes.
That's right.
Something that will.
Christ is
I don't have it
ascended.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but a Christian greeting, it's not super formal, but greeting everyone as they come. Everyone will know that will like help the state of California kind of aspects to when they come to simply sign in, and then we can ask the representative of a family. We don't have to ask every single individual. This will be family unit specific, and our sign-in sheet will have how many people you're coming with. So individuals in your party, we'll call it a party because these words are changing. Sheltering unit, sheltering in place unit, social bubble, and so. The question, how many are in your party, will have two functions. It will have, yes, the kind of the accountability to covering CDC function, making sure everyone mentions how many people are signing in with their sign. And the second thing it will emphasize will be how big of squares or how many squares to give you guys. That will be the final question, because at that question, we will be able to, option number 2, will be able to make the determination of what squares they have left. And that will be a role of option number 2, is to take stock of how many more squares we have left, of how many different sizes, and try, based on a lot of this mathematics, we really won't have to do because we only have 16 people.
Because we're gonna have people sign up ahead of time, right?
We'll have people sign up ahead of time.
So, we'll already know how many squares we have.
Right. So that's a great reminder. So we'll have a list. Number two job will be to essentially kind of analyze the list and say, okay, this is going to be a party of, it's going to be likely to be a party of X amount of people, and try and set up the schematic of the squares And I guess we haven't even gotten to the pre-service stuff yet. We'll get into that after we get into this specific stuff. Just greeting people. I don't want to get too formal, like I said, I don't want to get too we'll have a clipboard that will be on the clipboard will be on the table, and it will just simply have columns for sign in, number of people in your party, and actually dates as well.
So it'd be one sheet per day, right?
Right.
So we can just date it at the top, yeah. And that's why
I mean, we actually want them signing in, because I'm thinking no touch, right? Well, it seems to me like the usher would be the one writing down the names of who's in attendance.
Well, no, I think the best, well,
Is that the way
I
you've
like
got
when,
pens and stuff?
when, two points should be orthodontics come in. I had signed in and she gave me the pen, she gave me a pen to every person.
Or we can have St. Innocent pins printed, made, and then we can do it to be
I do have a gazillion pins and pens in my garage right now that have daycare tools on them, not from company, so if you need a gazillion pens, I know where they are.
well, I was thinking about, and Leo, we talked about that too. I think legally speaking, I don't know if there is a legal requirement in general, but the CDC wants people who are coming to be the ones signing themselves in,
Or
or
if they prefer no touch.
So, the dentist, I had a appointment there too, and I signed in, and they cut my name. So, they had each person sign in.
Yeah, but it seems in this case, unless, I'm pretty sure there's no legal requirement to have someone, at some point, there was almost the sense there might be life at risk by coming in here, so you have to sign your life away, basically. But I don't think that's the case at this
I
point.
know someone said Christina's mailing list.
Oh, okay.
And they are posting a sign that says, we are trying to keep things clean, but, basically enter at your own risk.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking,
Understand
if
the risk you're taking by
if-
coming in here.
we were requiring them to, if there was a waiver, if signing in was like signing a waiver,
Yeah.
then I would understand requiring, somebody has to actually give their John Hancock, but I don't think that that's the case. I don't think we have that requirement.
We're just trying to.
And if not, then it seems the easiest thing is to have, you already have a list of who's coming in advance anyway at this point. Basically, you're just, as the usher, you're checking off and saying specifically, these, this 3 of these people actually came, or something.
Check off.
yeah, that's a great idea.
I mean, it's faster, even, they don't like it.
Spelling is correct.
Stringent.
Basically, it's the church directory is what it is. You have that and then subset,
Right, it's just like an extra column for
here, right?
Okay, well, these are great. These are great suggestions, and I think that's what we'll go with. Is we'll have a directory. We'll have essentially a bunch of directories back to back.
So you can just print them, and as people respond and say they're coming for that week, you can just highlight their line.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do need to know, each person, too, not just, this family group of 4 people. If the Ninos had 4 people. Who are those?
And
four?
yeah, it could be good.
Well,
They're like
someone might have,
72
somebody
combinations.
can have to take more money, they might not have COVID-19, but somebody else may have to take.
Yes, we do. I think for the county, we probably need to know exactly who was here, not just 4 Ninos. These are the Ninos that were here that day.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that might make it a little more complicated with regards to.
Be in line for number.
Hey, Father,
What number
I just
and-
got a text from Skip asking if you
Yeah.
could stand closer to the door, maybe, just so they can hear on the live stream a little better.
Sorry, guys. Hold on one sec. Let me put you guys out a little bit further. They deserve a throne for that.
Tell Skip that he's got a good job anyway. Oh, well, that's.
Genius.
Okay. Well,
Short one this year and have the chapter board with Roman numerals.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, so chapter 15 was a little else like that.
okay, so I'm trying to, sorry, forgive me for interrupting you guys. But needless to say, we'll have a sign-in. The sign-in, I think, I've been debating whether or not and we can leave it up to Usher number one, based on what Usher number one wants to do. But we'll have two pieces of paper. We'll have and one will be, it's looking like now, one will be the sign-in paper that we won't have, that we will be keeping, the usher will be keeping the pen for, checking in each person's, is people's correct?
It sounds old school.
No, each people's,
And people's, that might mean like Arabs and Greeks and
Anyway,
so on.
I digress.
You're digressing, perpetually digressing. Okay, two pieces of paper, sign-in sheet, which sounds like the usher is going to manage, and for all the individuals. And then the second will be a really quick questionnaire. And I think the best thing, at this point, we're still being asked to do it. The questionnaire of symptoms and exposure and then temperature. And I'll format something that's very condensed, has all the information, and it will just have 2 or 3, it'll be 3 or 4 questions. The people coming will be able to read it and answer it themselves. They won't be posed the questions by the usher. They'll be presented with the questions, and it will have 2 columns. It will just be a yes or no for each question. One question will be a symptomatic question. The second question will be an exposure question, exposure to coronavirus within 14 days. You or your family, anyone within your unit, whether it be bubble or sheltering in place. And they'll be able to check yes
So that
or
goes
no.
back to having a pen and everyone having an individual paper again.
Yeah.
Versus just asking the question.
That's a good
Maybe not
reminder.
just have them read the paper and say, or tell them, here's the symptoms, here's the exposure. Is there any
Yes.
reason that you would not be
Yeah.
able to attend church today?
Yeah,
Right.
so it's kind of like when you go to Kaiser, for example. If you go to you're going to
Kaiser's asking it out loud.
Pharmacy, yeah, they
Yeah.
just
Kaiser's
ask you,
asking
it's
out
real
loud.
quick.
Yeah.
Do you think that's
I think it's
too
fine.
in your face?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
now it's the norm.
Okay.
If they say no, then don't we have to turn them away anyway?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, oh, yes, sorry.
It's like,
Right,
yes.
if they say-
Leo, you're not ushering. That's-
Well, if you answer, you're right. If you do answer yes, you're supposed to not be out of your house, really, let alone in a social gathering. So,
When they asked at the orthodontist,
Uh-huh.
the woman there, she's very friendly, she's very nice and everything, and it didn't seem, mean or anything like
Perfect,
that.
yeah.
I didn't mind at all. At the dentist, actually, they didn't ask until I was already on the chair. That kind of actually worried me. I was like, oh, I haven't
Yeah,
asked me
my
yet.
husband has it.
yeah.
Well, as long as everyone's aware that they're gonna be asking these
Yeah.
questions.
Okay, yeah.
And I think it's
And they
fine to
will.
ask out loud. I'd answer.
Okay.
And, I mean, we
Great.
know most everyone's gonna be coming.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad that we're having this meeting because my general disposition at this point in time is we're all adults and we can get it. We know the information. We've had the information kind of reminded to us. Just having a gentle reminder being the most pastoral thing. But if you guys think that this is better, then that's what we'll do. We'll have the ushers. So if that be the case, regardless, we'll have two pieces of paper. This way, the usher will be able to ask the question, and the pen will remain in the hand of the usher the whole time. And no more. Now that we're talking it through, it makes a lot more sense. It would this allows people to enter and exit without any contact too, even contact of a pen.
Yeah.
All volunteers will be expected to be wearing gloves. I don't know if that's an added safety element or not, regardless, but I keep on touching my eyes. Okay,
So while they're on so 2 pieces of paper, one being like the one that has the symptoms listed on it so that people can read it? Or, because I would think that on just our regular check-in sheet, we could say, you know, who's here? I check them for symptoms, I check them for exposure, I check their temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Add columns to the.
Yeah, the usher could just mark up each thing that he did with each person.
Right.
And then we're down to one piece of paper.
Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. That's well, that will make it easier. I'm trying to make
If
these
you have
things.
another piece of paper, that's just one piece of paper that everyone's reading.
No, because we can just
They're all
literally
working
ask
out as we go.
Yeah.
Or we just
Oh.
ask them.
Oh,
Seamless.
Okay, well that's
So
what
maybe
we'll,
like the usher has a script that they can go through that says, you know, do you have any of the following symptoms or have you experienced?
If you answer yes to any of these, I mean, you don't have to say which one, and I think anyone's really gonna be willing.
Yeah, you just give them the list of symptoms. Do you have any of these symptoms? No. Okay. Have you had these types of exposure? No. Okay. And we shoot your forehead and you can go.
so yeah, we'll have a touchless thermometer.
and we have
Yes, we do.
Okay.
we have another one on the way, I believe.
So it seemed when we did that with Walt's funeral, it took a few minutes to warm up some or something. Because the
okay.
first couple of people I shot with it were like 86 degrees. You go, okay, well, you're sort of alive, I think, but
I have a better one on its way.
it eventually started giving more reasonable
How
numbers,
close
but
do you
it
have to
did take
be?
a few minutes. What's that?
How close does that have to be?
Well, see, I didn't have time to read instructions or anything, so I'm not sure.
7.5.
What was
I
it?
think- I think it's, you have to only be within 6 inches. I think 6 inches is
What, this,
96.7. If it's too low, then you're probably too far away. So I would, my suggestion when taking temps, I don't know if any of you have experience, moms probably do. You want to take 2 or 3, especially with these, and then give a general average. Especially,
Well, it might be hard too with the breeze outside right now.
what's that?
It might
No,
be hard too with the breeze.
It doesn't, it
Supposed
just
to
makes,
read.
Doesn't matter?
no, yeah, it's
Supposed
just
to
Should be
read
surface.
right.
97.5.
But you know what, as long as it's not,
Fine.
100.
yeah, if it's
Yeah.
in the 99s, you might want to shoot it again just to be
Yeah.
sure, but as long as it's, you
Yeah,
know.
just get
It's
close,
85.
yeah.
Yeah.
The general way to calibrate is you can just go shoot it inside and then look at the temperature that's shown on a thermostat.
Kira said that she calibrated it at home,
Oh, okay,
so.
perfect.
There's some that are self-calibrating that have 2 sensors. One that senses the temperature of the air of the environment, and then there's another sensor that senses the person. And we have that one coming, I believe. I purchased one of those. It's called an iHealth. It's supposed to be one of the best ones.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think so. When taking temperatures, it's best to try and stay, try and have it at full arm extension. So just we're considering everyone's proximity bubbles here, right? Arm fully extended, and try and have it like 6 inches from the face of the person.
Yeah, the pose helps.
No,
There you go.
so these things will probably become more comfortable as we do, do this more and more.
Last weekend at the funeral, everybody just smiled when I said, hey, can I take your temperature real quick? Psh, okay, yep, good. I mean, they know.
Yeah, this is good. I think some personalities are better disposed at this process than others.
I
Mine
think
is
we
so
can use it.
yeah. So I'm very grateful that you guys are willing to be a part of this process and are so eager to serve the church in this way. It's a huge blessing to me, at least, and I'm sure it'll be a huge blessing to everyone. As we're talking through all of this, I hope that you're getting a general sense of how this is really going to provide a lot of security and a lot of reassurance for people. But generally speaking, that we're doing our due diligence in this process, and to the best of our ability, we're trying to mitigate the spread of coronavirus.
I think that's important, to strike that balance between welcoming and also making sure people know that we are being careful, so they don't feel apprehensive about that.
And we're doing it for you. We're protecting you and your loved ones. So
Right.
you're welcome.
And I think that as we do this more and more, that will I think that's just gonna, after 1 or 2 times, that'll be kind of abiding sense. It's like, okay, yeah, this is a safe place. More and more people will feel comfortable coming to church, and this is kind of a really central ministry in that sense. Like hospitality, I think, is something, and like charity are two things that are really, I think, virtues that are going so much further in our day, like right now, than they ever have. I shouldn't say ever have, but than they would, generally speaking. When it comes to consideration of our brother and our sister in Christ in these ways. So we're getting an opportunity to play out the gospel in our own lives without the gospel. Okay, so I think we have a general sense. Do we have any questions on role of usher number 1 in greeting, signing in, and questionnaires? The questionnaire script. We'll have, when the time comes, God willing, we'll have the script, and we'll have our check-in directory sheet that's week specific with all of the columns, check boxes for number of people coming with their names, and whether or not they were checked for the 3 questions: exposure, symptoms, and temperature.
So the print off list, could include the household name and then the individual names underneath it.
I think that would be, yes, I think that would be the best way to do it.
That way you can just check off each person.
Yeah.
Right, and we'll highlight each family that has signed up to come for that week, so that it will be all condensed.
Well, I'm thinking, is it even worth it just to do a completely separate sheet for each week? I mean, we're only talking
Yeah, well, that's
16
what I-
names on the
That's what I was
sheet.
thinking, yeah, you would just print one out for.
For each
Yeah,
week.
this is who we expect for this Saturday. This
Yeah.
is who we expect for this
Oh,
Sunday.
yeah,
Leave a few
absolutely.
blanks at the bottom just in case there's a oops or somebody shows up and we have room for them or something.
Yeah, this is something we could probably reconstruct on a weekly basis, yeah. Yeah, well, that's what we'll
Making
do.
the process to, okay, sit down, table, someone comes up, you do the checklist, and then the second usher is waiting right here to bring them in.
Yeah,
And if there's gonna be a line of people, maybe we wait here until the usher comes back to lead you in.
perfect, thank you for transitioning that, that's exactly right. Because, so that will, my hope is that the final question is the confirmation of the number of people in the party. So you have, usher number 1, last question will be like, just confirming how many people you have coming with you in your.
Well, but you've just checked everybody in, right?
Right, well, we have checked everyone in, and then we'll confirm it, right? And then we'll communicate the number to usher number 2. And then usher number 2 will take, each party. And we might want to do 6-foot lines
Yeah.
on the concrete kind of leading up, so that people know where to
Maybe we
stand.
just do that in chalk since tape might not work so well.
That makes sense, yeah. And then usher number 2 will bring them in to their given, so this plays into usher number 2 processing too. It will be good to have lined out for the person who's doing usher number 2 before service starts. God willing, everyone will get here half an hour early.
Is this before divine liturgy or
Before-
Advent?
No, just good question. I don't think we'll be doing hours starting right off the bat, but when we do start doing hours, it'll probably be best to come 30 minutes before hours. Sorry for those people who are used to coming later, and I know, and those people who have children too. I know that will play into. So we'll strike a balance on maybe we just won't be doing hours for a little bit longer for the sake
As
of.
we get better with our process too, we won't need as much time here
Exactly.
early, you know?
Exactly. We'll need like 15 minutes just to make sure all the volunteers are signed in, get their gloves, their mask, and have their temperatures taken and their them checked in the same way you would be checking people in at the door. So they'll be on the same sheet, and all have already been checked in. We'll have one sheet for all people who are going to be at church. So yeah, that's a part of the process that I went over a little bit in the all volunteer meeting, is just making sure we get here early enough to get prepped, get the table out, get any supplies that we need. And then usher number 2 will take the list and come to the empty church and try and well, we don't have to assign, but based on what people, we'll get a sense of where people like to sit, right? And then we can make suggestions. Would you guys like to be up here? Since you're a party of 8 people, would you like these 2 squares? Oh no, well we kind of need a place that, like, the kids are crazy, so maybe we should just be in the back. Okay, well then, okay, you can take these 2 squares, but usher number 2, trying to kind of get a sense of like narrowing down, so it's not too much of a smorgasbord. It's like, okay, we can take these 2, or maybe the best if you take. Usher number 2's job will be to make those suggestions in kind of a strategic way, for the sake of everyone, so that we don't get to the end and we're out of squares. If that's the case, we'll work.
It's hard to imagine that happening with 16
I think
people.
it's very unlikely.
Like one person per.
Unless you're number 2, probably won't have to put a lot of thought into that. Just kind of getting a lay of the land and knowing where people could be placed. Okay, so that's check-in, that's layout. Any questions here?
One quick table question.
Yeah.
So visually, to me, if the table's off to the side,
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking it's not real important. And it
Sure.
might be, somebody's trying to solicit something or something's going on.
Sure.
To me, importance is nearer to the door.
Front center, okay.
Plus, I'm not sure about the person's access back there, depending on how large the table is.
Yeah.
You want the usher to be able to get in and out as necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how large of a table we're thinking.
Well, let me just pull it out right now, so we can get it.
Let's say just do it
Yeah.
right here,
Yeah,
Right around
right.
in here.
entrance.
Because, really it is a barrier without being a barrier.
Mhm.
It is a protection.
Yeah, that's
It's a
what, with
speed
the doctor's office, you have a door and it was right there, and so kind of blocked off the waiting room kind of thing, but you couldn't have one by it.
So Father, I can tell right now, it's a really large table. Could we do something smaller? Like a tray table or
Because there's
a,
just one person sitting behind it with one paper.
Yeah, no, I think we do here. I think we do have a small computer.
well, or I even have a TV tray at home
Okay.
that would be,
Well, and
Big
then
enough.
I know the Ninos have, they're like the half size ones of those that are like skinny. They aren't like a
okay.
full one, and they're probably, I don't know, a foot or 2 shorter.
Yeah, I even thought that we had 1 or 2 of those shorter tables here, but maybe they were just here when maybe the Ninos brought them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, basically, we need a table that can hold a piece of paper.
Right.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
I think maybe it should be covered either because,
We're gonna have to clean it.
yeah, is that paper or is that plastic?
It was a
I think
paper
that's-
tablecloth.
Oh,
It was
is
one of
it?
those cheap paper ones that.
Oh, so it's to be thrown away each time? Because
Yeah,
say
although,
otherwise-
this stuff, I guess if you're doing Saturday and Sunday would be an issue. We're just, week to week, stuff dies within a week, so you don't actually.
We have like a 5-foot rollable table that has a bunch of stuff on it right now, so I can't necessarily bring it out, but.
Could we just do like a TV tray type thing? Because all we need is a piece of paper, right?
Technically, yeah, I think that's if we want, that would be best, I think. To
We
be
can just put the person right there next to the door, and then that way that person can talk to the other usher real easily.
perfect. If you're bringing something in from home, making sure it's sanitized, maybe Clorox wiped, or just making sure that it's sanitized before bringing it, or wanting to you could possibly keep it here, whatever you choose.
Yeah, I think whatever we do, it needs to stay here.
Stay here, yeah.
Yeah,
So, if we want, I can bring a TV tray.
That would
we
be
can
really
use
helpful.
For the duration.
thank you so much, Misty.
Okay.
That would be great. Then we have something that's not too massive and
And we can have it there closer to the door.
yeah, perfect. Okay. That's great. Thank you for thinking that through because we don't have lots of space here.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
This pillar can help us a lot.
Okay, well, any more questions on entrance and
for communion,
Yeah.
people that, that aren't allowed to come because they've been in contact with people that have coronavirus within the past 2 weeks, but they themselves haven't been tested positive. Are they allowed to, I know you're offering communion at the end of this service on Sunday, are you gonna do the same thing after the future services? And are those people going to be offered communion as well? Those people who can't come and attend. Just
Yes,
curious.
well, to answer the question regarding whether or not I hope to offer Holy Communion to those people who would, who aren't able to attend this service, but still would like to receive Holy Communion. I guess I need to start communicating this more and more in my emails, and my announcements, but yes, absolutely. Now my hope is to offer Holy Communion in all of its diverse forms now that we're offering it. And when we have services, to be offering it, of course, at the service, and then after the service for those who can't make it for one reason or another. Timing will probably have to be determined based on who we're exposing, right? But yes, that's my hope, is to keep Holy Communion available after the service. And God willing, we'll be having multiple services a week, like the Saturday and the Sunday. So we'll have, for those people who let's say we get more than 16, right, in rotation, wanting to come to service. Well, everyone will have the opportunity to commune on both services, whether or not they're able to attend, regardless of whether they're in attendance or not.
I'm curious about those people who perhaps tested positive for coronavirus or just have a fever. Like are those people still? It seems like the answer is yes.
Symptomatic people or
Yeah.
people with coronavirus?
They're not
That's a
really supposed to
question.
leave from the house, right? If they have symptoms, they're not able to leave from their house,
I'm
right?
not sure.
Yeah, I think there's
Well,
supposed to be self-quarantine.
That's more, yeah, that's probably that's gonna be more of a house call visit determination based on, the situation, the situation at hand. But I don't, right off the top of my mind, I would love to be able to commune people with,
That would probably be one that you would need to go see them.
I would have to go most likely be seeing them, yeah. So to clarify, if anyone's symptomatic, probably shouldn't be leaving the house. And they don't have to worry about coming to church in order to receive Holy Communion. I will be going to them if they're symptomatic, and would like to receive, or they have, if they're tested positive for coronavirus, that will be kind of an emergency situation for them, or we'll have to make those determinations as they come. Yeah, so that's a great question, though.
I'm just thinking about the people that come and then maybe they end up answering affirmative to any of those things, and then they're going to ask the question, "Can I receive Holy Communion?"
Good question. Right, like if they're at the door, if you're usher number one and they answer yes to something, and they ask you, "Can Father commune me still?" Say, well, so that's a good question, because we'll probably be asked some of those types of random questions, not random, some of those very relevant questions. I would suggest at that point in time to have one of the ushers get a hold of one of the acolytes to get a hold of Father, to get a hold of him. But,
Although this strikes me, it seems to me unlikely that anyone will answer yes to those questions, because I think they're pretty pro forma. It's important to ask them, but they know,
More so I'm thinking you take their temperature and they're above 100.
They might not realize
that would, then you say this is probably broken, go ahead. But, I guess if,
You're probably right. It's
I would be,
unlikely.
if it did happen, then you probably, then it would be a question of, do they come back after the service, to receive, or does Father go visit them, and that.
yeah, and I always have the blessing to go visit them. That's probably most likely what I'll do right after the service.
Clearly, for an adult, if your temperature is over 100.4, you're probably feeling it.
Right, yeah.
I mean, for kids, you You know, maybe not so much, but for us,
Sure.
we're gonna know if we've got a fever like that.
So you're saying if we do have a question
For father in particular.
to let the acolytes know so they can let you know, and then
Right, or you could just go in and say, hey, father, like,
during the service?
well, not during
Well,
the
when it
service.
happened during the service, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, you know, we need to remind people that they need to be on time for the service.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise we're sitting out here for the first half of the time.
So that's a
Yeah.
good point, then when hours
Yeah.
get started again, I mean, should we wait until in between? To
Well,
ask you those
probably till
questions?
liturgy starts, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
You
as
know.
soon as the blessed is the kingdom happens, it will be better to get a hold of the acolytes than get a hold of me. Because at that point in time, service is in motion.
But yeah, it particularly, I guess it'd probably be good to, obviously, we'll know in advance who's gonna be there, so probably it makes sense to send out an email the day or a couple days before any given service to those people who are going to be attending that service with, among other things, maybe just a reminder, please be on time.
Yeah.
You know,
Or
because
maybe
it's,
please be 10 minutes early.
Yeah,
So that
well-
we can get you checked in.
early is on time, right? On
Well,
time is late. or
that's it.
something.
Exactly. You know how that works.
Depends if you're.
What's that?
We asked them to be
Depends if
20
you're
minutes
Arab.
early. That's right.
If you're, yeah, or ethnic in any way.
Early. You tell them the service is starting.
Yeah, yes, that's
There
right.
we go.
That's it.
If you're not here by 9:30, you don't.
Or
get
maybe
in.
you have
That way
separate
everybody-
emails that, you know, get sent out to.
Honestly, it does work with my family.
We've definitely told them different times based off of anything.
Yeah.
Sorry if you.
No, these are good questions because, yeah, we don't want the ushers out here cold. And that's the thing, like, we'll remind everyone, like, we'll remind everyone of the process. We don't have to have a bunch of reminders because it'll be evidence that those people who do come a little too late, like, I shouldn't say too late, but the later people come, the more time they're keeping the ushers out of the service too.
Well, maybe too, we can set the usher in the back square so that, you know, the usher can, you know, okay, I've got most everybody here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come on into the service,
Yeah.
but then they can keep watching over their shoulder, and then that way if anybody walks in past them, they know, oh, wait, stop. You know, I know they're
Right.
already in the building by that time, but at least the usher can,
Right.
or even the usher can stand in the narthex maybe.
Well, that's what I was hoping. I was hoping like somewhere kind of in this middle ground where the usher has a view of the entrance, somewhere in the kind of this doorway where the view of the service from the glass is
Yeah.
maybe for the first 10 minutes, and then if people haven't come yet, then I'm moving closer and closer to the service,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But these are good questions because this is bringing us kind of more into the process of what's going to be the usher's role during service, and for Holy Communion, and for bathrooms and such. So I just to reiterate, we're going to try. What we're trying to facilitate here with the ushers is this seamless people being able to come into church and out of church without any contact necessarily,
Right.
unless it's real necessary. And the ushers will really be key in kind of helping to show where good traffic flow will be. So I'm trying. Let me think. What's the best way for us all to? Let's talk about, since we're in eye shot of the bathroom really quickly.
Just really quickly, I have a question. I
Yeah.
see the blue tape here
Yeah.
on the carpet. Is that to do with blocking people off from going that way, or?
Well, it's not for blocking anything. It's more, you'll see if you end up going to the bathroom in the narthex. I have, I'm trying to take, this might be me doing too much infrastructural work, but I'm essentially like directed pathways. And that might not be necessary, but because I'm not trying to keep anyone out of any specific area with the tape, but more to just kind of direct when we come into church, not necessarily lingering in church, because the narthex, especially in here, is a potential for it to become a
Gathering area.
gathering area, right? And so with the tape, it's more of just a kind of, and an area that we pass through to get into service. And I'm not, all of the studies are showing that coronavirus is really not very easily transmittable outside, in open air settings. So we very much could still fellowship, in a less exposed way if we are doing so outside. My hope was through constant reminders of this to just make a sense of, okay, and eventually maybe even having coffee hour under a canopy outside in our parking lot. Making sure everyone's kind of if we want to congregate in a social way, doing it in the outside.
Should there be maybe one, I don't know, through email or a sign, or maybe just making an announcement in church? Just like one time, like message, like if you want to have a conversation with someone, it's safest to do it outside, or.
Yeah, I have a very long email formulated in my mind about for all of those people who love Father Augustine's 10-page long emails.
Bullet points are really good.
Okay.
True.
More people will read it if it's bullet points.
I'm taking suggestions all the time, constantly reformatting, as you can tell. My hope is to be able to do that, is to be able to communicate, okay, when we come to church, like bullet points, making it visible for people, communicating it all in a way that's really visible and tangible for people. And I don't want to go through the whole verbatim thing, but it will essentially be stages. Check in, and then straight into church, and then afterwards, right back out. And the ushers will be able to help after the service, reminding everyone. I don't know if we want to dismiss squares, like one after the blessing of the cross, or just generally disperse. Like we've had, I know at the funeral, it wasn't very organized after the service. It was just a little bit less structured.
Yeah.
And we're not one of those really formalized churches in that way where we dismiss people out and do all of these things. So that's
But I think we will have a tendency to,
Yeah,
so
and
it's probably better to dismiss groups out.
groups, or even if your last announcement is just like, love for you guys to talk, please do it outside.
Yeah.
And can we please leave? Do we want to use both doors? Does that make sense?
I do think that that's a great idea.
The ones that are on that side, use that door, and the ones that are on this side.
That's an amazing idea. I think that would help with the bottlenecking of using this and exit.
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say, you go on this side, exit through that door, first squares go out first. Please leave 6 feet behind, between your squares. Squares on this side, exit from the rear.
The faster you get out, the more you can talk to people outside.
There you go.
Yeah, perfect.
Skip had a quick suggestion too, just made the suggestion that maybe we could, instead of the word usher, use the word greeter.
That's a better
For
idea.
example. And I think it would kind of make sense because, as you said, and I know we've talked before, we've kind of talked about having that kind of serve, or a person serve that kind of role anyway.
Right.
And so if this is just kind of an extension of that, then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so when I first saw the email about ushers, I thought you were referring to this, we're going to collect the offering. So that's, to me, that's what usher meant.
Right.
Yeah.
Those terms, they are specific in their usage, but sort of ambiguous.
So, this little girls don't get to do it anymore.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll have it as greeter.
Yeah.
Because that does emphasize hospitality more than, hey, ushering you out of somewhere. Yeah. Okay, so bathrooms and communion, these are the two last things, and they're not really super systematic, but if anyone has to use the restroom, the greeter can Well, I hope the greeter can communicate. And so this goes back to where are the greeters going to be once the service starts? Well, many of the greeters have families to be with. That will be a big factor. But it would be great if we could possibly have one in the narthex, either whether it be a person switching off halfway through the service after the homily maybe, or sometime in the service doing a switch, so that we have one greeter in the greeter in the hall, directing and reminding people about bathroom usage. We're gonna have one bathroom open, and there's the possibility that it would be that someone would need to use the restroom when it's being in use. And so in order to try our best to make sure that someone doesn't walk in on another person or doesn't get in a place where they're entering into a bathroom and someone's exiting it, we have set up, and you will see, I'm keeping it closed for now, just so that we don't have another place that we have to sanitize. But when the fellowship hall is open and we'll get an opportunity to look in, it's very obvious on the floor, there's two lanes, one going back and one coming out, two lanes of traffic. And then at the very far end of the fellowship hall, on the lane that's going back, there'll be a red X. So simply, if someone needs to use the restroom, just the greeter will be able to say, we'll be able to know if there's someone in the restroom, and if there is someone in the restroom, it will simply be a suggestion of, I did see someone in the restroom. If you're going back, just make sure to stop at the red X, and that will give the person leaving 6 feet, so they're not ambushed.
Do you think
or
it's
feel ambushed.
worth it to include in the email that there will only be one bathroom available just for everyone?
I mentioned it once, but I can
Okay.
reiterate.
I didn't
These
see
are
it.
other things.
It could be a bullet point. I thought I read most of the emails I've got, but also Leo's gotten a couple emails I haven't, so I don't know what happened.
My apologies if I
I didn't know if there was one list or if you make a list each time, because I don't know how I just
have-
assumed it was one list that you would copy.
I have.
So I would send some.
Unless it was one like the ones this morning that we sent out to a small group
Yep.
about the fire.
Sure.
You go into her email and like read emails so they don't show up.
I don't think so. Just her text messages.
Oh.
And then delete them after.
I'll reemphasize it. There's going to be prepared. There's going to be a massive email.
So maybe
Hopefully,
it
will
would
be
better if
condensed
we could divide them into,
for the bathroom.
yeah,
entrance.
exactly. Yeah,
Like-
maybe not that much detail, but,
Yeah.
more emails with less detail in each. Because I think if they are too long, then people can glaze over by the time they get to the end.
It just gets lost in the midst
Yeah.
of everything. Yeah. Okay. Like a reopening email, Holy Communion email, a while at church email.
You guys think that people would, if the 16 people that are gonna come, this is such like a big event, I'd imagine that they would thoroughly read an email that's directed at them for their first time
Yeah.
coming back to the
It
church.
would, I guess I just look at working with struggling readers.
Right,
You
okay,
know, I know,
makes sense.
and I know, it's not just kids who struggle to read, there's a lot of our parents too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it would, they would read what's at the beginning and they might read what's at the end,
Kind of
but the
skim
stuff in
through
the
the
middle,
Sure.
maybe not.
Whatever you guys think's best.
Yeah. Oh, we'll have basic reminders too for people who are for everyone in the church. It will be like, okay, just a reminder. We have one bathroom. Make sure to do go over basic health hygiene practices before leaving the house. Exposure symptoms. It could be brief. So we'll do that. We'll make sure it's communicated. Okay. So the final thing being Holy Communion, and let's move back inside from there, and then that will be our. Let maybe Isaiah get his nap in.
Can I add one minor thing I assume people would ask about, and I think we discussed very, very briefly at one point, is candles. Ushers helping light candles, I thought. I don't know if that's off the table now.
Well, the bishop made a request that we don't use candle. Oh, whoa, yes, sorry, you're right. That we don't use candles, but we could have an usher be the one lighting the candle
Yeah.
for us, which is, it just seems, I don't know why. I don't know why, other than to keep people from touching baskets full of candles
Yeah,
and such.
that's it.
And we only have one person touching candles.
What if you have the usher pass it to the person? Does
It
that
just
make a
seems so
difference?
complicated just to light a candle. I don't know. I feel bad for,
I mean, it sounds to me like the issue is just the handing of the I mean, usher could just, or a greeter could just hand the candle, right? I mean, for example, if you're just coming, I mean,
I'm not sure what the reason
are we
is.
saying like during the service, or are we saying like
well, it's a
hand people a
contact.
candle as they come into the church and then they can go light the candle?
They're just gonna burn down.
Yeah, I mean,
If you notice, I took all the candle, I took everything up for the sake of space, so we'll probably have to bring
True.
that back
I was
in
gonna say,
again if we want to.
There's no other candles.
There's a Golgotha we can light
Yeah.
candles at. The one on the side, the small,
Yeah.
by the cross. So, it's gonna, I'm gonna divert that question, I'm gonna table that question if you don't mind. Me doing so, it's a good question. I don't want it to be like a point of like, wait, what? Like I can't
It's an easy
light
thing
a
that can be
candle.
waited on when people are
Yeah.
excited to come back.
And I
Yeah.
wonder too if the bishops, if it has anything to do with, people running over to blow out the candles then too.
Well, I think the main consideration was just contact, like trying to make it so that people can come in and out of church without having to do too much of the contact and still be able to be participate in the piety of the church, right?
And it can cause people to walk around more again, because
Because
people are all lining up to light their candles and they're in their box. I get that.
Like you do all this work and then all of a sudden.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna table that question. It's a good one. Please forgive me for tabling it. I'm just trying to
I just,
consider.
as a greeter, I would anticipate people would say, well, can I have a candle, or where are the candles, that kind of stuff, so I just.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Keep on making those lists of those potential questions because I'll try and answer them before we get to the time of opening. Some of them do require a little deliberation, right? Like that one's a good one.
Right, yeah. Thank you for what your grandfather has done. One of my friends was like, I don't envy you being a priest right now.
By your prayers, by your support, this is an opportunity for us all.
Are we going in there right now?
Let's go into the church, the main church area.
Oh, no, we're gonna go as well.
Sorry. Okay. Okay, so the final thing will be Holy Communion. So as you can tell, we have marked up, I didn't have marked up here, like a line for like this square. So for Holy Communion, I think the best thing, my initial thought was that that the greeters dismiss squares from the back forward. So that the back corners, exactly. So that this, let's say like this square would be dismissed for Holy Communion first, they come up as a square, and they come up from here, you wait, so let's say spoon, and they come up and receive Holy Communion. There's a whole process to like informing people too about the nuances of Holy Communion. We don't need to get into that. But when it comes to just traffic, generally speaking, in order to like kind of maintain some of the structure of the squares, is that was my initial thought, is we do back corners first, they come all, because they're going to be traveling the longest distance to come, and then to come all the way back. And while that's
Well, once square is dismissed, the opposite, what I'm hoping to do, and I'm open to your guys' feedback on all of this too, but just kind of think it through when it comes to flow in general. Starting on one side, that square goes back, and then the opposite side and on the far side is staged by an usher, a single usher. Borderline, okay, well, simply with I've been to the Orthodox churches where there's a single usher that kind of, I shouldn't say usher, greeting, who walks down the middle of the church and kind of points to squares, and it's an indicator of like staging, you're like next, that type of. In most cases, it's been from the front back that I've seen readers dismiss pews, right? So we're going to kind of go with a similar method, but in order to get most of the motion out of the way, the squares being the furthest back will go first. And this will also give, I believe, starting from the back, will give a little bit more space, usage of aisle space for the next square, because the nucleus is reducing like in that direction. So this side, so the usher would be standing somewhere like this, reminding this before Holy Communion, let's say in the fear of God with faith and love drawn near. The reader's reminder gets the attention of that square first, and then gives them the space to leave their square, and then at that point exactly you can remind this square after they've all gotten up saying, okay, you guys will be next. Just wait. And the lines should indicate that they should wait here, which is 6 feet from this intersection. And after they're all back, so this is a little bit of a process. Just if you want to maintain all of this structure, I'm sure it won't be like this forever, and I'm sure it will just reduce into kind of, okay, we get it, all right.
What if we just pick me and the end of everyone else that will be coming, picking me?
I want to try and keep this familiar as possible for people. You know, when it comes to when we commune, everyone anticipates it. It's kind of like a breaking point in the service where, yeah, finally, you feel like you need to waiting for months. So so I'm just going to walk through this real quickly. You guys, I appreciate the suggestion for the sake of simplicity. But if you're thinking through this process with me and you have any suggestions, okay, it probably could be done easier if we do it this way. When it comes to just moving people around in space, let me know. Okay, so going back and forth.
So they just, they're rotating on
So
the
we do
outside.
like a row, right? Like this group leaves, and when this group leaves, then this group comes to here, right?
Because if
And then
that,
the next tee up.
because if that square goes back, then this square is locked in.
But we could just do this whole
Yeah.
row, moving one square at a time, and then do that whole row, moving one square at a time.
So
And then
how would that square keep back?
Have Philip work with me.
Because if she goes,
Oh,
And then we just go all the way around,
in
right?
a circular motion.
Yeah, because otherwise you end up,
Keeps moving.
that square ends up locked in by two family units that have.
Yeah.
These guys just come all the way back to where they were.
Perfect. My only point of consideration would be, and this might not necessarily be a traffic, but we'll have this table right here, say a hot plate and spoons. And it should give people enough space. Okay, well that's helpful.
It's like graduation.
then that means she probably do one side first and then the other side.
Yeah. And then we can come back and do this side and then that side here.
Okay, whatever.
We'll do the Neo side second.
So you're saying I do the back three first,
Mm-hmm.
and then,
And then maybe those back three,
Those back
and then these three, and then those three.
perfect.
Whatever order we want, but I think the flow.
Yeah,
And then we can go kind of, and then we can kind of stack, that will help with the overall flow, because then family units will be able to stage on the lines.
Now, what happens if, you know, they take up 2 squares in this direction rather than this direction?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah. Well, so maybe we just move, maybe we do this whole side first, and then we do that whole side.
Because the family units will be one
You
side.
can also, if we have readers, with like have working brains at the time, they could also kind of go with the flow a little bit, as long as. It's good to have a general structure, but yeah, you get the weird things happen. At this point, if the Ninos come, then basically they're gonna have the whole side to themselves, because they're half the 16, people, and so it won't be so much of an issue, but,
So, follow-on question, so the choir, what's that setup gonna look like? Because I know we've had this too, but then at the funeral, we had 2 more back here.
That was just, that was kind of an exception for the sake of.
Okay, so we won't have any extra choir back here.
Correct.
Okay.
Why are we in that square there, or?
We'll have 2 choir members, we'll have a head singer here closest to the door, which is singing their floor. And we'll have a backup singer, chant here. And in the corner there.
So that chance of family would be that square for sure.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that would be something to consider too, for, families that come disconnected, and not like you. That's an obvious.
Yeah, we can ask the singers, is your family coming with you today?
Right.
So, your family gets the square next to you.
Yeah, just so that if you're not sure, they'll know where, they'll go back to their family, those squares will be taken up. Yeah, do you have any other suggestions? So, one side first, and then the next side. And then essentially, the inner squares can be their own aisle, right?
Yeah.
As the wrapper.
yeah, right.
So they're essentially staged.
Yeah, these are really,
Well,
I mean,
I'm sure we're understanding the same thing. Explain what it is you're talking about.
Well, if the outer aisle is a circuit, is a circle,
Uh-huh.
then the inner aisles are already staged. So, and that will mean essentially the first person.
I think we still go this way.
Still same cycle.
I think it's nice because otherwise you still have to wait for this group to get all back before this group can go. If you just do the
Okay.
circle, then everyone's
So-
gonna walk.
And I think people get confused too. Which one are you on?
Well, yeah.
Everybody was about.
Gotcha. So, yeah, and that will keep with the flow of everything. Yeah, okay, so what we have essentially is two circles.
Yeah.
One wider and then one tighter. Alright. I guess that will be the usher's job to make sure that these people up front in the inner circle know that they're in the process of moving back.
that's gonna be counterintuitive, yeah.
When the back.
Oh, but I think everybody just sees, okay, when this square leaves, I move up.
Can we go down?
When this square leaves, I move up. When that square moves up, this square moves.
It might be confusing the first day, but it's
Right.
not easy to catch on.
Can we have an arrow, like a pleat with an arrow? Like that.
Oh, doing small arrows kind of on the border,
Between the square, yeah.
like a directional arrow.
I don't know, so I understand a lot, I'm actually not sure, I think it would need to be explained anyway,
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think we need arrow.
and so I'm not sure, it might be work that ends up being, yeah, I'm not sure. That makes sense to me, but yeah.
Because for the rest of the service, someone might be wondering what the arrow is
Right.
going for. Is it like what's the
Yeah.
And then once it's explained,
That would be something that I would make sure to try my best to communicate at the.
yeah, just make sure if they get it wrong, they don't come in that service.
And they can't come back.
arrow?
Maybe something to the greeters can kind of talk
I was
to
just
you.
thinking,
Yeah.
Walk you in, here's your spot, now we do communion. The process will be, you will move this way when you're communing. Perfect.
Reader number 2's job of communicating.
You know what's annoying is that this is gonna be, I just imagine that, because I imagine forgetting to tell them when they start, and thinking, oh, communion's coming up, I need to go tell them. Under normal circumstance, I would come over and I would whisper into their ear, whatever it is.
Right.
And that's frowned upon now. So yeah, we should try to remember to get as much information as is needed, conveyed up front.
Yeah, Usher, that would be a big Usher number 2. We'll try to have a checklist, like where's your preferred, for Usher number 2, it'll be where's your preferred square? Does this square look good for you and your family, or how about this square?
You need a chair.
Do you need a chair? And then this is what Holy Communion process is.
Yeah, I mean, 2. And I guess we can decide if we want 1 or 2 ushers doing communion. But, if the usher comes over here and looks at this group and says, come, and then looks at that group and says, and then that group.
Right.
But the greeter has to represent a way without the greeter is away also.
Right, but you'll do that, and you guys come, you there, and now I'm gonna move.
Perfect. That's great. It will require a little bit of, I don't want to say bossiness, but yeah, like straightforward. Okay, you're gonna come after, pointing in the direction of people. If they're questioning, like, well, what are you trying to say with me? Too, with those hand signals, after the first group goes through, you can come back and say, please, and direct them with your hands. Please come up and come to the stage in right after that.
So do we want to, when they're actually coming up to communion, do we want to, if it's a little bit larger family group, do we want to encourage them to spread out this way a little bit? Because I can see, 8 trying to get up to the line, I mean, different.
I would
Well,
say
why don't
take
people just line up still? I mean, getting space between the groups, but the families just line up individual lines.
Yeah, that's a question.
Because otherwise you're getting really close to the boxes and you're trying to all stay on the line right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, single file.
I think that would be something the usher will try to, ushers can control that based on who they let through this area, right?
So I think I'm gonna need both ushers in here then doing that.
Okay, yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah,
But at that point, no one's arriving anymore.
right, yeah. I mean, it seems to me likely that, especially in the early, if this goes on for months, then people will probably get back to their usual ways. But in the early going, I would expect people to show up.
Yeah. And
More or less on time.
realistically, you have 500 boxes here.
Right.
With extended capabilities.
No, I think in practice, the one will be easier than we prepare for, but yeah, we want to sort of have a plan in mind.
Okay, well, I appreciate you guys coming in and walking through all this with us. I want to be mindful of your time. It's pretty much, we're at 10 right now, so I promised the second group that we'd start at around 10. Do we have any final questions about anything that seems super ambiguous? There's gonna need to be a lot of communication done by the priest for the sake of the ushers. When it comes to the process of receiving, being dismissed to receive Holy Communion by the ushers, while maintaining social distancing. We have bathrooms has a process to it, and then entrance has a process to it.
Now, I guess one day when someone needs to use restrooms in the alley, in terms of knowing that we had to help someone.
Well, yeah, that was a good reminder. We have one person in our text, not necessarily perform the door, but like close. And they'll be able to, so that person, that usher can change in and out based on what you guys want to do as a team for service. But maybe just making sure that there's always kind of one person here as a reminder, just in case, like, let's say somebody's coming in really late, which is rather or even like someone who's just kind of popping their head in or in other words, they'll be able to be somewhere there to greet them. I'm calling ushers to greet them and help them out.
And honestly, we might have to remind somebody that, okay, parents, your child needs to be with you. You can't be.
Yes.
That will be another function, God willing, if it can be done very nicely and tactfully. Just reminding, yes, parents first. Well, the child's old enough, we can remind the child, making sure you're.
You just ask the child, are you on your way to the bathroom? No, well, then you need to be back with your parents.
There we go, yeah. Yeah, simple things like that, will be good reminders for the ushers to be able to keep an eye on based on their service. We'll all, I'm pretty confident that we'll all be able to maintain and manage these things, and the greeters will be a great addition to our overall, I don't want to call it structure, but our overall ministry at St. Innocents, of hospitality and of just being a family unit. And they'll be a representative of anyone who's new or anyone who's has any questions throughout the service, which there will be. It's likely that we're going to have, there's going to be the familiarity of being in church, which is a beautiful thing and which is an abiding reality. But though within the coronavirus pandemic, there will be some inquiries about, should I go to the bathroom now? It's likely to call out some of those sets of questions as speakers. Is there someone in the bathroom right now? Can I go? No, you're not in there, go ahead.
It could just be their top open unless it's in there to have certification.
Yeah, that's, right, that's true.
Never,
We
never
have-
touch the outside.
You can make a little,
Yeah.
just move with our foot.
Mhm.
I was thinking about having we will have a lot of signage here too, like you said, enter at your own risk type of thing, making reminder signage. So that will be helpful too, that will help the greeters with what should be done. Some of those reminders will be if we can, keep the doors open. And so, just common sense stuff too, we're all kind of in the process of working out as people, new, those.
Chick-fil-A, that's all in the bathroom?
Probably not a bad idea.
That's a great idea, yeah. And that's something that maybe a greeter can do, is if the greeter, right when they come, we check that, see if the light's on, turn the light on, and open the door.
But then, we would need a note that says, please leave lights on, because everybody's used to turning them off.
And that's exactly, lights on, door open, right at that.
At work, they just leave the bathroom door open all the time, including when you go in.
You're so helpful.
Well, on that note,
You first, Phil.
should we
I'm good.
should we end with are you guys okay if we end with a prayer? And we'll, yeah. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, now and ever into ages. Amen. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory forever.
Thank you all for coming. It's a great blessing, like I said, to be able to serve in this way. Our church and our community and our family. And may God bring us all together.
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Did we decide on a reading for the, for the readers?
You
Oh, you mean like at the door?
talking.
Maybe we can just wing it.
How hard is it? Yeah, I'm just thinking.
We'll embrace the diversity of reading.
Is the sanitation, training today or happening?
I would like, I have,
Have a good
sorry.
snack.
I have yet to